Basement level vibes with another one, straight up blackness aye. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Benskop stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, we have to gather wrong, grab a seat and sit down, pay attention. Education, liberation, we have to stand strong. Benskop upon the radio, lively up the program. Everybody call somebody and let them turn and tune and pon the radio and catch the boom song. We boom it up already, we have to boom it up again. Expose and reveal him. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Benskop stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom. Who tell the truth? Mark Benskop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benskop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benskop, straight up from the root. Mark Benskop, who tell the truth?
Yeah, my name is Jasmine Caldata, Francis Vietnam, and since 1965 I become a voter, and I always place my ex next to the cop. And what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data.
Oh, Jesus Christ, if cost of living double, I don't know what happened. A pound of sugar is $300 already. Flour, everything gone up. Everything just raising. You gotta get about $40,000 for buy good ration. You gotta get 3 man now. A weekend man, a monthly man, and a fortnight man.
Hey fans, it's karaoke and oldies night this and every Thursday at Club Twilight Sideline Dam, Buxton. Dance to the magical songs of yesteryear by popular DJs and Camps Audio. Admission is free. Come out, let's make memories at Club Twilight Sideline Dam, Buxton North.
right, good night. My name is Mark Benchap. It's 8 minutes after 9 o'clock in beautiful Guyana, and it's the same time Eastern Standard. And I know it's different out in England, and all you guys there in England, good morning to all of you, wherever you are, whether you're in Barbados, you're in Trinidad and Tobago, especially the folks out in Tobago and that oil spill, right? The Guyanese government has not said a word about it. And I want you guys in Trinidad and Tobago to read between the lines why they're so silent about that matter. Okay, so what else we have? We got a couple of bills, as we call it here. You got to pay your bills. Go out and support these businesses that we advertise right here on 107.1 FM. Hi again, good night. My name is Mark Benchap, and welcome to Straight Up. This evening, as we do every single thing we do, it's a Guyana politics, and all manner of things. As you know, the country is in a very bad state, politically, economically, and so forth. And the regime has not been doing what they have promised to do. 50,000 jobs, absolutely nothing. The highest unemployment rate ever in the history of Guyana. Also, when you look around the blockout rate, it's the highest again. As you know, the PPPC held the record back from 1992 to 2015, and then they're breaking their own record again in terms of the amount of blockouts per day. Thankfully, the coalition government rectified that problem through proper management. Now we're talking and we're seeing mismanagement at the highest level. That is why Guyanese are experiencing the constant blackouts every single day. All right, so whatever else is happening in your neck of the woods, kindly share the link. That's all we do. We just ask once, and that's about it. We don't go on. Just once. Share the link. Thank you. The leader of the People's National Congress Reform is with us this evening. He's also the leader of the opposition. And so just prior to him, the show starting, we just had a little joke, which just it's kind of like ironic that we are actually from the same area in Linden, Polka Street. So we are Polka Street babies. Made it all the way up to the mountaintop, so to speak. So Aubrey Compton Norton is with us, the leader of the People's National Congress. We're here to, of course, we want to get some information out of the opposition leader pertaining to the state of Guyana. And maybe we'll squeeze a couple other questions pertaining to the People's National Congress reform, hoping that we will get something out of the leader out of that. But primarily, we are going to be focusing on the state of Guyana. That's what it is. And I'll be looking at some of your comments. And maybe if you have a question or two, I will just pose those questions to the leader of the People's National Congress reform. Let's get straight into our business. And for again, let me just thank you guys for sharing the link. If our operator can have the leader on with us, let's go. There you are. Good night, Mr. Norton. How are you, sir?
Good evening, Mark. I'm fine.
Yeah, it's really nice to have you on. I just want to let our listeners know that when I saw you and you came on with your shirt and everything, I wanted to go and change my outfit as well. And you told me, no, it's okay. Let's do the show. Thank you.
We're all different, Mark, with different styles.
Thank you so much. How have you been, sir?
Extremely fine. I arrived in Atlanta. I'm here for a few activities.
Okay, what are some of the activities? And let me just say welcome to the U.S. What are some of the activities out there those folks have planned for you, sir?
Well, I am meeting a few key persons that are helpful to the party and want to see us in government. And then there is the party groups here have planned some activities. I know there's a town hall meeting, as well as there is supposed to be a cocktail reception, and I will meet and greet with Guyanese while I'm here.
All right, so you have a packed program there in Atlanta. Anything in New York or other place in the U.S.?
No, I'm heading straight back home. I'm trying my best not to spend more than 7 days out of Guyana in this period. I'm more needed on the ground to do the political work because, like I've said many times, victory at an election is more dependent on the groundwork than anything else. So I want to minimize the time I'm overseas and maximize the time I'm on the ground in Guyana.
Absolutely. Speaking of the groundworks and on the ground back in Guyana, Lots of people have been complaining for the longest while about the state of blackouts. Every single day, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 blackouts. Even after spending, the regime spent hundreds of millions of dollars on pumps, or what is it, generators, sorry. What's happening there, sir?
There are a number of things that are happening. First, the corruption level is high, and it impacts the entire system. Secondly, there's a lot of nepotism, as you're aware. The head of the GPL is a handpicked brother of the leading the People's Progressive Party. And then there is incompetence. The government has shown that it lacks the ability to manage. And I think we are where we are. One needs to go back to 2015, where we inherited a situation in which there were high levels of blackouts. The company was in trouble. As far as I know, we returned it to profitability. We developed a plan that ensure we improve the generation capacity. We were working on the output in the system, the transmission. And by 2020, when we left government, the Ghana Power and Light Company was basically making blackouts a thing of the past. The government came into power, did not continue with the program that we and the plan that we left. They came for one day, we were bringing in new generators and improving capacity in the normal corrupt style. They brought in reconditioned generators that were in boxes somewhere in the world. I think it is Honduras. And what in essence happened is as these things come to Guyana, they are not new, they are not functioning at capacity. And so we have the problem we have. It is also a manifestation of the absence of planning on the part of Ghana. If you're talking about, if a government keeps talking about the fastest growing economy in the world, it should recognize, if it is a sensible and competent government, that as businesses come as a result of oil and gas, then generation capacity will increase. And therefore, if you didn't have a plan to improve generation capacity, then you run into trouble. And even while they were in trouble, they were saying that they're going to add 36 megawatts more. By the time that would have come, they were in trouble. That is why we said to them, you need to add about 80 just now. It isn't coming, but you need to increase the power by 80 megawatts. Yeah. So I heard that Jack Doe said he will take the advice. I don't know how true it is, but we don't mind for the year and whatever months they're there. We will continue to show them that we know what we are about, that we are competent, and we know that they put people to listen to all our programs to get ideas because they are void of ideas. But the main thing that should be noted here is that blackout has to be placed squarely at the feet of the People's Progressive Party. They have mismanaged the energy sector, and they're gonna again talking about Amalia Falls. Were it to come on stream with no water at this stage in the drought in Guyana, it would have been a further disaster. So we are preparing to take government. We are preparing plans in virtually every sector so that we can hit the ground running, because the People's Progressive Party is on a course of self-destruction. They've mismanaged the electricity sector. They have difficulties dealing with the high cost of living. And while they do that, they are very repressive and just focusing on their political constituency. So it's a crisis created by the People's Progressive Party that will result in its downfall.
Lots and lots of crises every day. It's 18 minutes after 9 o'clock. For those of you who just joined us, good night and welcome to Straight Up. My guest this evening is leader of the People's National Congress, Aubrey Compton Norton, also leader of the opposition. You did mention Amilas Falls project, and just to remind our listeners, that hundreds of millions of taxpayers' dollars wasted on that project. Another failed project by Barrett Jack Deal. And so I'm glad that you've mentioned that. Let's go now to the fuel spill out in Tobago. Not a word about that. Not a word about the black box that they sent overseas. It's months now. You're not surprised of these sort of silence, Mr. Norton, are you?
The PPP has always been a party of secrecy. When you are a corrupt party, when you are an incompetent party, when you are a divisive party, it is very difficult for you to be transparent and accountable. And so I did not, do not, and will not expect anything better from the People's Progressive Party. Their modus operandi is one that isn't aimed at developing a democratic society. It's an authoritarian mode that they operate in, and they cannot afford to bring things into the public domain. And then what they do is that they try to resort to the court to file like the charges, etc., so that they silence people. But as the various crises hit the people of Guyana, more people are talking out. The Tobago spill is just symptomatic of what can happen if we really have an oil spill out there. And what the Tobago spill should say to the government is that one, you have to be careful who you import the fuel from. It is evident that they don't want to associate themselves with the fuel, but all the documentation that is emerging is suggesting that the fuel was heading for GPL. And that might have also contributed to the exacerbation of the blackout situation, because I think they will have to find nefarious ways to get it in without people making the direct link. Now, the question of an oil spill has to be a question that is always in the forefront of the minds of the Guyanese people. All the oil spills we have seen in the world, the major ones, have cost billions to clean up. Guyana, without the capacity to do so, has to ensure that there are mechanisms in place for the parent company guarantee that most Guyanese have been asking for. Remember, it's not a case where you're asking them to put down the money. There's a minimum sum that is put down, but what you're asking for is a document that legally commits ExxonMobil, the parent company, to be responsible if an oil spill occurs. So an oil spill has to be catered for, because history has shown that for a variety of reasons, there can be, they were, and there can be an oil spill in the future. So it is something we have to prepare for and be able to cover the costs, or else a lot of the benefits that will come from the oil and gas will go to zero if the responsibility for cleaning up an oil spill devolves on the government and people of Guyana.
Before you go to the black box, because that the black box that they sent for some sort of voice recovery seem to have gone missing also, because Barra Jagde and the PPP are quite quiet about that. But you mentioned this cost recovery in the event that there, and God forbids, that there's an oil spill. We heard, according to reports, that the Attorney General went to the CCJ to secretly have a court matter be heard. How accurate is that, and what is your position?
Well, it does appear that it is accurate, because he himself admitted that he went, and he went as far as saying that he doesn't have to give reason for going. That is again indicative of the fact that they don't believe in transparency, they don't believe in accountability. They believe that they have the right to do what they like, when they like, how they like, to whoever they like. And that is going to come back to haunt them. Now, the government should be protecting the interests of the people of Guyana. And for them to challenge a decision that really was made in the interest of the people of Guyana is a clear indication that the government has no interest in the people of Guyana. And what they want to do is to protect the elite in the PPP, their friends, their families, and their favorites. I think all Guyana would have arrived at the point where they recognize that the People's Progressive Party is not a government for the people. It's a government for the few. And as they do that, what is happening is that they are accentuating the class division in Guyana, where regardless of ethnicity, the majority of the people of Guyana feel alienated, feel exploited, and therefore, in that very process, they are weakening themselves. We are exposing them, which will contribute to the weakening. Programs like your own, Mark, David Hines, etc., they are doing a good job of educating the people. Don't forget, when you're in opposition, your task really is to educate, expose, agitate, and oppose. And I think we have been doing that. And I think the PPP back is against the wall. And them moving in the direction of going to the court to address an issue that is in the interest of the people of Ghana is a clear manifestation that they have no principles. You could see the case with the parliamentary secretaries. They fought that case when they were in opposition, and now they're in government, and it has been a ruling occurred that those two persons are not entitled to sit in the parliament. They are appealing it. So here are people who are prepared to fight even the things they advocated for. Let us recall that on losing the 2015 election, one of the first things that Barry Jackdio said was that you need to get a new chairman of the Elections Commission, and that we need biometrics and a clean voters list. The minute he returned to government, he changed that song. We will continue to bring pressure. We have been engaging the diplomatic community in Guyanese on this issue, and we are aware that you cannot trust the People's Progressive Party. And that is why the saying, if Guyana is to go, the PPP must go, has become a normal saying in the Guyanese society.
500 Bangladeshi nurses when the PPP promised 50,000 jobs. We can't see any evidence of that, sir. You go to Linden, there's hardly any jobs available for young people in particular. Aituni, Kokwani, Blackbush Polar, you just visited that area. Corriverton, all over, Philippi, Alnis, you go, New Amsterdam, Belladrum, all across Guyana, young people are crying out for jobs. They have disrespected the nurses, public servants, and so forth. But interestingly, they decided that they're going to go all the way to Bangladesh, not CARICOM, all the way to Bangladesh for 500 nurses. Let's get your take again. I know you pronounced on this matter before, but let's get your take tonight again on that.
Well, like I said before, I believe the government has been creating the conditions for them to be able to import Bangladeshis and people who they perceive will vote for them. Because in my opinion, it's an election maneuver. As they lose support in their strongholds, as there is high levels of migration, the PPP really don't want to be out of power. And this recent thing about the Bangladeshis is a clear case of them preparing to bring into the system people who they hope will vote for them. Now, they have created the conditions by their refusal to pay nurses and public servants a livable wage, which we have been calling for from the time I've been opposition leader. They have pushed a lot of Guyanese, including nurses, to migrate. Now, why do you need 500 Bangladeshis? A recent estimate would have shown that there are still about 400 nurses between 55 and 60 with experience in Ghana who have retired. One of the things the government could have done is to rehire them. And if they had rehired them, they will have an income, they would have the experience and the knowledge, and they have the understanding of the people and the culture in Ghana. So it is clear that the aim is not to put nurses in the system that can man the system. Of course, the Caribbean would have been a better choice to bring nurses from, again, culturally and otherwise. But then they don't intend to pay Caribbean people proper salaries. They don't intend to pay Guyanese proper salaries. And therefore, what they are doing is creating the conditions for them to bring Bangladeshis. we have said in no uncertain terms that there are many young Guyanese that can be trained. And you can do it at two levels. You can first train nursing assistants who might not have 5 CXC with English and mathematics, and you can put them to work under experienced nurses. You will do two things in that process: create a new core of young nurses, well, more than two. You would have created employment, and you would have created a pathway towards these young people becoming qualified nurses. And so you see a lack of vision. You see they lack the ability to, in a structured way, think through things and solve the problems. But they cannot do that because essentially they are involved in gerrymandering to achieve the political results they want to achieve. This whole thing about the Bangladeshis must be opposed. I say to Guyanese, we have always been a peaceful people. We want to continue to be a peaceful people. But when a government is seeking to take bread out of your mouth and give it to others, they are creating the conditions for our people to resist. And so I think the government should note that they are going down the wrong road. But nurses demand a higher level of training. The government has signaled they're going to bring truck drivers. There's a shortage of truck drivers. Could you believe that? In a country in which many young people are unemployed, you can develop programs to train truck drivers, to train heavy duty operators, train them in the quantities that you can carry them through the process, they get their license. And it also will provide an opportunity for them to do some civic type education to be able to change the culture of driving in the country. Ghana needs a complete change in approach when it comes to traffic and driving. But the People's Progressive Party is a lawless political party. And so it suits them to encourage the level of lawlessness you see on the streets. And therefore, the problem is systemic. The problem is a bad political culture. It's a corrupt administration. It's a visionless administration. It's an administration that doesn't care about young people. There are so many things that could be done for young people that this government failed to do. They have a youth minister who seems to have the only abilities to take out pictures. He can't even complete a proper ground. And so, again, unless you have a proper youth policy like we had, which was adopted in the parliament, and you can develop structured programs to ensure young people get work, you're in trouble. In the last budget debate, I remember young Sherwin, who was the chairman of our party, pointing out that there are so many new industries that we can go into, tap into, to create jobs. Oh, they heckle him in parliament, but a little after here, Jack Dale, a hypocrite. We are setting up some committee to look into new industries. That is all they do. We speak in the parliament, they heckle, they go on, but they come out after, change the name, and seek to bring the same programs we have been suggesting. There are a number of things that can be done in the Guyanese society that can create jobs. I give you a practical example. I don't want to give them all my ideas because they take these programs and tomorrow morning they can come with it. But we have a school system in which there are serious problems of violence among our children. We have the Guyana police force that has been trained to enforce the law, but do not know how to deal with social problems. The University of Ghana produces social workers every year who are unemployed. What the government needs to do is to employ a lot of these social workers, place them in the school system, in the law enforcement system, so that we don't just create a system in which soon as a young person comes into contact with the law, I'm not saying come into conflict, there are two different things. Young people will always come into contact with the law most times because a lot of law enforcement persons just go after some people. But when they come into contact, the first thing is take off your belt, go in the lockup. You take young people who don't even know anything about a lockup, you put them in there, they're there with hardened criminals, basically might be influenced and head in the wrong direction. The social problems in Guyana need a different approach. The teachers, yes, can teach, they have the competence, but they need to be helped by professionals who can deal with these children without force and brutality and guide our society out of the social problems. And that will create employment for social workers, it will create employment for sociologists, and we can increase the training of psychologists so that we develop that social net that will capture and help those people. And that is why we in the APNU have been, and AFC have been advocating for a people-centered development strategy. Our vision is the building of a society in which people benefit from oil and gas and all sectors and allow us to create a prosperous but just society. Our society is too unjust. So it is not only the question of bringing Bangladeshi, the government has failed to produce a plan. Even President Ali in an interview was, I don't want to say naive, was manifesting that he doesn't have the level of professional qualification he purports to have because he said that he doesn't have a plan, they plan as they go along. Which sensible president, which leader of consequence will say they are planning as they go along? There are so many things you have to plan for before. We in the opposition have put together teams and working out our plans so that in returning to government, we can hit the road, the ground running, because we need to deal with the problems of Guyana.
And Guyana does have lots and lots of problems, particularly under the PPP regime. Under the coalition government, they revived the technical institutes, whether it's at institutes, the ones at Rose Hall, New Amsterdam, Linden, Georgetown, and so forth. It's yet another example that the PPPC regime doesn't care about young people. They are visionless. They have absolutely no policies. One of the things you did say, Mr. Norton, is that the reason that the PPPC went all the way, they left Guyana in terms of even rehiring some of those retirees, as you've mentioned. They have bypassed the CARICOM, not because of wage, not because of salaries. Do you think race plays a major role in that? And the PPP will use those Bangladeshis to prop up the voters list?
Yes, they have no doubt. Recently, our scrutineers turned back, I think about 8 or 10 of them, who came and was trying to register. The law says if you're from the Commonwealth, if you live a year continuously in Guyana, you can vote. And so they attempted to register them, but they weren't here a year. And so our scrutineers turned them down. The danger is they will try to bring them now so that by the elections they are here a year and use them in the process. So it's a concern of us. We are strategizing on it, dealing with it. We do not believe that they should be bringing Bangladeshis here to work. And it is something we will oppose vehemently. We'll have to find a number of ways to do it. We have already signaled to our young people, the young people in Ghana, that this bringing of Bangladeshis is a direct attempt to deprive them of jobs while giving them some amount of political control so that they should regain power. And I think they make the assumption that because they are Indians, they are likely to vote for the PPP. And they are also making the inverse assumption that if they bring Nigerians, people from the Caribbean, they are African Vinings, they're likely to vote for the AP and UFC. I don't think they see politics in terms of people looking at policies and programs and acting based on it. And if you know the People's Progressive Party, if they bring Bangladeshis, they are going to force them, threaten them with getting rid of them if they don't vote for the PPP. It is the nature of the People's Progressive Party. They're doing it to 10-day workers from their strongholds, and many of them are objecting to it. So it has an element of race, it has an element of incompetence, it has an element of the government creating the conditions to push Guyanese out so that they have a group that they could control and dominate. So it's multifaceted.
We have been hearing news of GCOM in terms of the list being heavily padded. And you guys in Guyana, in the opposition, are preparing for elections. Of course, you have mentioned before how concerned you guys in the opposition are concerning this heavily padded voters list. When you ran to become leader of the People's National Congress, high up on your list was GCOM's chair, that you were uncomfortable with her and that she has to go. It's been a while now. She's still there. What is it? What is your position still on GCOM's chairman? And also, what is your party doing as it pertains to the heavily padded voters list?
Well, first, let me say that it's still high on our list. We continue to call for her to go. We have noted some sectors are joining the call. A lot of times in politics, it is gradual and constant bombing that breaks Pearl Harbor. We think that she should do the decent thing and resign because she knows she has compromised herself in the last elections. We continue to engage the diplomatic community. We have made it very clear, we've shown them that you have a country of 750,000 people and you now have a voters list of 708,000. It's a practical impossibility if the very government is arguing that there are 250,000 children in school. So we will continue with the protests. We are at present in a little group discussing some new approaches to putting pressure on the government and GCOM to ensure that we get a clean voters list, biometrics, and a new chair. So we will continue to work in that direction. And I want to make it very clear, biometrics without a clean voters list doesn't make sense. It has to be a clean voters list and biometrics.
All right, those of you who have just joined us, Leader of the Opposition, Aubrey Compton Norton is with us. We'll take this quick 15 seconds break. Leads us to the next question.
Oh, Jesus Christ. If cost of living double, I don't know what happened. A pound of sugar is $300 already. Flour, everything gone up. Everything just raising. You got to get about $40,000 for buy good ration. You got to get 3 man now. A weekend man, a monthly man, and a fortnight man.
All right, Atlanta man as well. Lots of, I mean, the humor into that, but there's always this seriousness. Talk to us a little bit about cost of living. People have been complaining about it throughout the country. Talk to us.
The cost of living is extremely high. And again, it is a function of PPP incompetence. You know you have an oil and gas sector. Well, I should say it's both incompetence and the desire to control and dominate the political land space. You know you have oil and gas. You know a lot of people are coming to Guyana, but you have done nothing to expand food production. Well, let's put inflation aside. There are a number of regions, or all the regions in Guyana, they have the capacity to become self-sustainable in agriculture. But regions 1, parts of region 4, 7, 8, 9, and 10, all of them have agricultural potential, but there is no structured program to develop agriculture in those areas. What that means is that there's a heavy dependence on the coast. And even to get it in to those areas will constitute a difficulty. But the government believes that if all the food is coming from region 2, 3, parts of 4, 5, and 6, then they are in control. They don't care about the cost of living. We have made many recommendations on how they can deal with cost of living. One of them, we said, is the development of agriculture in all regions so that you cut the costs of transportation and you have more food in all the regions. And then I was recently in Blackbush Polder, and the farmers there, the small farmers there, complained that the Drainage and Irrigation Authority does drainage and irrigation for the big farmers, but they're the small cash crop. No attention is paid to them. So their animals are dying, their, their crops are running into problems, and so that constitutes a problem. And then there is a contradiction with all of these situations that they have. They said that those who come to buy their foodstuff want to buy it for next to nothing, and then they sell it on the market at exorbitant prices. So all of these issues have co-mixed to create this situation with high cost of living. Also remember, if people have the capacity to purchase the goods, is another issue. Because they are not given a livable wage, many of the people cannot purchase goods and live a quality life. So the cost of living crisis is affecting most Guyanese. Of course, the elites, the upper class, it wouldn't affect them. But the average man on the ground, whose salaries are kept stagnant, and whenever they get an increase, it is so insignificant that it is eaten up, so that the nominal wage keeps increasing, but the real wage, the capacity, the money to buy, keeps declining. And so you have this cost of living crisis. At the same time, water price, the cost of water is going up, the cost of electricity is going up, and corruption adds more costs on everything, because when the small man goes to do something like get a birth certificate, something which we are streamlined, they now have to pay. So that eats into their income. And I think people underestimate the role of corruption in all of this. The People's Progressive Party is corrupt from top to bottom. And that corruption affects every aspect of the life. In the Rupununi, people were complaining that they were entitled to cash grants, and they didn't get it because they weren't part of the PPP outfit. But yet, the money is utilized, which means that there is corruption at the lower level of the PPP because it is their officials they used to do it. And all of that impacting the cost of living. In the Rupununi, the cost of living has gone up because when we were in government, we began to put in place these reservoirs. So in the times of drought, people can get water. We were digging, we drilled the wells so people can get water. The PPP has failed to maintain those wells. They haven't continued with the reservoir project. So what in essence has happened is agriculture has, whatever little exists in the Rupununi, has virtually grind to a halt. And then Irfan Ali, in the typical approach of bribery, carries in 500 pounds of cassava. As if that can solve the problem. The people want cassava sticks, they want water, and they want drainage and irrigation so that when the rain comes, they don't move from drought to flood. And those things, the People's Progressive Party, they are not addressing it. And so the cost of living will continue to go up. There is no, and we touch here any inflation caused by goods coming from outside. We just dealt with the local goods.
Just the local goods, indeed. 49 minutes after 9 o'clock, we'll take a drive straight over to Congress Place. Mr. Norton, your party Congress should have been held last year. That is according to the Constitution. You have said on numerous occasions why the Congress could not have been held last year. However, it is going to be held by August 31st. Some folks of this year, that is, some folks seem to have serious problem with that and saying then that Congress should have been held. There's no excuse for that at all. Why is the delay of Congress, please?
Well, first of all, some people in and out the party choose to make Congress an issue. The PNC in opposition, because of resources and other things, and if you want, I can send you the list from the Special Congress of 1974, which became the Declaration of Fire, to the last Congress. And you will see that all of those Congresses, many of them were held over the 2 years, especially when in opposition. There are a number of things I don't want to discuss in the public domain that prevented Congress being held. Now, Congress will be held, I said, no later than August, and we will go to that Congress, and the members of the party will elect the leadership they need. So the concerns about Congress, look, it has been a trend. Let me show you the trend. They started first by contending that I wasn't intellectually fit to be leader of the PNC. I think that we have taken on the PPP intellectually. We've shown their deficiency. I've shown that not only on the local media, in the international media, I can stand on my own and my intellectual capacity is not in question. The qualifications I have, they are not in question. They can be verified online. So they shifted from being a dunce to, oh, he doesn't look like a leader. Well, I don't know how a leader looks, so I will ignore that. They then started to spread rumors about misappropriation in the PNC. Some of them lied and gave some big figures of money to PNC. But all of that is totally untrue. I have said the People's Progressive Party problem with me is they cannot question my integrity. They have checked everywhere that I have worked when I was in the Ministry of the Presidency, and they could not find anything. And so they have resorted to engaging people, financing them with the aim of seeking to get rid of Aubrey North. I have news for them. I have worked in this party all the years. I have been on the ground. I am credited in this party since returning to have engaged the diplomatic community to the point where the diplomatic community is engaging us and they're expressing satisfaction in terms of our professional approach to these issues. Secondly, we have been outlining a vision. When I took over this party, you know, Mark, you couldn't rely on every Thursday press conference. There were no press conferences in the name of the PNC at the time. I came as leader of the party. We restored the press conferences. We started engaging people. You would be aware, Mark, I think David Granger did a good job as leader, as president, like anybody would have made his mistakes. But you are aware that at the end of his term, when I took over, when you went to people on the road, they were saying to you, we don't want to hear anything about the APN. It is the work of the leader of the party and all those who support this party that we went from community to community, engage our people and bring them back on board. Many people who jumping around and talking now were saying we shouldn't go to local government or we're going to be beaten so badly I was in touch with the ground. I could have felt the pulse. So we took a decision, we will go. The rest is history. We have maintained our strongholds. We're doing what we have to do. Now, as they run out of issues, as they try everything, oh, I left out Bam Bam Ali. When I was elected leader of this party, I used to lime on Orange Walk. They spread rumors about me being drunk. I've never been drunk in my life. And at least two of the people who spreading the rumors have always been drunk. Now, I think they have arrived at the point where the average man is saying to them, we like when you're in contact with me on the ground. If I go to New Amsterdam, I go on Main Street, align with them. If I go to Pleasance, align with the people. There is value in being with our people. Now they have run out of criticisms. People seen them for what they are worth. They have now turned to the Congress. The Congress will be held, and let us look to see where they will go next. But remember, when I became leader of the party, many they were who promised that once I would have won, they would work with the party. Many of them, the elites, stopped working with the party and actually instigated some people to not work with the party. I think we have done an extremely good job. We have trained a core of young people in managing projects, and you will see from all the activities we have had as they go ahead, they are better planned. And so I am satisfied that with the coming of Congress, the people in the party are aware of our successes. They will vote for the present leadership. We now have to look to see where they will go next to criticize, because that is all that they can do. And I make this point. When I became leader of the PNC and then leader of the opposition, one of the first things I did is to sit with members of parliament and identify the things they need to do, we need to do to succeed. We put it on a document so they have that. We decided on the message we will send. They have that. And so there is no need for anyone to suggest that they weren't given leadership. I'm saying to them, as far as I know, and I have been around, this is the first time, probably since Desmond Hoyt, that members of parliament had a document that spells out the functions they should perform. They had a document that says the message we should be sending. They were given leadership in every regard. The others, why they arrived there, I wouldn't get into here. As leader of the party, I don't want to get involved in that, but I will say this to you. I will continue to give leadership to the party. I have the political experience. I see things political because apart from the length of time I've been around, I believe I have developed the intellectual capacity to look at things political. And when the Ghana-Venezuela territorial controversy came, as leader, I was in the forefront giving guidance, even helping to coin the language, help lead the government in the direction because they were non-active. I actually said they were sleeping at the wheel and articulated where we need to go in terms of the Ghana-Venezuela territorial controversy. Many of the proposals they haven't implemented, but they will come back again to engage. And this time, we will have to have clear agreements on a program, its implementation, etc. So I am satisfied that we will have the Congress and we will remove the last excuse people can give for some of the things they're doing.
So you said by August 31st, no specific date set, because all we've been hearing is by August 31st.
Yeah, the central executive of the party will set a date for the Congress.
You mentioned, go ahead, sir.
And mind you, I have seen Congresses postponed, and you didn't have this noise that is going on. I really wish we had the resources at the time to bring off the Congress Well, it would not have come off in December anyhow, but much early in the year. But we are mobilizing the resources and there'll be Congress. We have already prepared the building that we normally use. We're still doing some work, but when I became leader, that building couldn't be used for anything proper.
So you mentioned local government and the success stories. Of course, evidence on the ground tells a different story. The coalition lost Bartica. The coalition, I believe, lost Lethem by not contesting. The situation in Madhya, the same, and almost a non-victory in Bartica. As leader of the party, all those townships lost. Is that still a success story, sir?
First of all, let me start with Rupununi. Rupununi was lost while we were in government under the APNU AFC. So the arrest that occurred in Rupununi, we didn't lose Rupununi. Rupununi was lost in 20.
Lethem became a township under.
Lethem was lost in 2018. We did not lose Lethem. The mayor of Lethem was not APNU when the elections were called in 2023. Go back and check it. I know they spread that out there that we lost Lethem. We didn't. We did not lose Linden. We did not lose New Amsterdam.
But the party didn't contest Lethem.
Yes, that's what yes, they didn't. But you said we lost Lethem.
Yeah, by not contesting.
No. We could not have lost it by not contesting when we didn't have it.
No, but if it's a bit technical, but I don't want to get confrontational. It's a bit technical. Even though you didn't, you're a political scientist. Even though you didn't contest, it's a loss. But go ahead.
Right. Let us go now to Bartica. We got equal seats in Bartica. The same in Madhya. Of course, the rule was changed, and it said essentially that I think it's the highest remainder got it, and so they got those. Now, remember from the inception, I said we were not going to contest all across the country. And I do believe it was a sensible decision. You didn't want to put the little resources you had into areas that are losing. But you know something? I never hear anybody mention that we lost Buxton Falls while in government and we regain it in this election. Isn't that a big win? The tendency to focus only on the negative is what has affected us. I think with the money spent by the People's Progressive Party, bribing left, right, and center, the APNU in the areas they contested did extremely well. And most of the people believe that we could have done that without resources. We are going to beat the PPP in the next election. I also point out, local government is not a test of national elections. The two shows elections are separate. And so you're not talking about it reflecting the country.
You know, that's up for debate that local government elections is not necessarily a test to the national elections. I always thought that from my political science 101 class that was actually the case.
Could I permit me to put one empirical fact? In the 2018 elections, local government, the APNU did better than they did in 2016. One would have expected in 2020, we would have been in government. We weren't. I'm saying to you, there are a number of variables in local government election that are different too. And add to it that our people have not yet, the Guyanese people have not yet gotten into local government. And so the turnout is extremely low. Take, for instance, Plaisance. It comes over as if we lost in Plaisance. We won in Plaisance. But compared to the turnout of the PPP in industry and others, they end up winning. So to the extent that a local government election doesn't attract the turnout of a national election, it is difficult to compare. Aristotle said years ago, there is no comparison among non-equals. Local government and general and regional elections are not the same.
In a democracy, or as is the case in Guyana, non-democracy, we can expect that from those individuals. Well, let's look at some of the questions here as we prepare to wrap up. I see some overzealous individuals who probably have been absent out of Guyana for donkey years. So we'll go by with those who are on the ground, not to say that some of them overseas aren't making sense. Quite a few of them are making sense, so don't get me wrong. Let me go to some of your questions, maybe one or two. But before we do, quickly, people have been very concerned as to not seeing much of the General Secretary of the People's National Congress reform. What's happening, sir?
Right, nobody stops the General Secretary from being in the public domain. In fact, as far as I know, she was out of the country for a while and she has returned. The General Secretary will make her decision as to how she be in the public domain or not.
What preparations are in place? As I noticed a comment earlier, what preparations are in place as it pertains to, apart from the Congress, the presidential elections? As with the coalition, is it going to be a coalition approach? Is it going to be a presidential candidate that is going to be chosen by this coalition, or what? Or do you see yourself as the presidential candidate?
All I would say to you is that the decision is informed by history. The PNC is the largest party in the coalition, and the historical trend has been for the leader of the PNC to be the presidential candidate. So whoever is the leader of the PNC after the Congress will be the presidential candidate. So to me, the Congress would solve that issue. What's the other one you asked?
The other one with regards to the approach to election, a coalition, or do you see the PNC are going at it alone?
Let me put it this way. I believe in coalition. I believe that we have a lot to benefit from coalition. We are preparing for elections. I have been engaging political parties. Last week, I met with the National Front Alliance. I'm scheduling meetings with others. I have been over the period meeting the WPA. I think we do have a principle kind of agreement that once we solve some problems, the WPA will return. I have been very conscious of the fact of the need for coalition. I'm in constant contact with Comrade Ramjatan. We have what I would consider to be a good relationship. If I have my way, there will be coalition going into the election. But since it's not me alone who will be determined, I wouldn't pronounce and say we will go as a coalition. My desire is for us to go as a coalition and field the best team we can. And mind you, that team must be a team that is in contact with the people, working with the people, because the people are worried and concerned that when you have leaders, as you're seeing in the PPP now, when you see in some elements of the APNU, when you have people who are not on the ground and they're in the air, the tendency is to forget the people. Our focus is to stay on the ground and ensure the people we put on the ground are people who are in contact with the people and will know the problems of the people and be able to solve the problems when they're in government because they have been in touch with the people.
All right, 7 minutes after 10 o'clock, Aubrey Compton Norton, the leader of the People's National Congress and also the leader of the opposition. Before we go, I have two other questions. One has to do with some would describe you as not tolerant as it pertains to democracy within your party and very intolerant with persons who have exercised their democratic right to run or to challenge your leadership. What is your take on that?
I'd say this simple. Under Desmond Hoyt, Hamilton Green was expelled. Under Robert Corbyn, McAllister was pulled out of Parliament. People had that kind of confrontation. I asked them to show me where I've taken action against people who oppose me. I haven't. I've been extremely tolerant. Let me say this to you. Some of the things some of the people are doing, they couldn't do under Granger, they couldn't do under Corbyn, they couldn't do under Height, and they were nowhere wrong at the time of Burnham. And so I would ask you to look to my record to show me one area where I actually convene a disciplinary committee. There is a member of the party who is supposed to be before the disciplinary committee. And I have not been pushing to put anybody before the disciplinary committee. I do believe that any of the persons who are opposing me or claim to be opposing me, I can take them on politically, intellectually, and I have shown no inclination to resort to using whatever power inheres in the party leader and constitution against them. I think we should look at the facts and determine.
All right. With the candidates, the individuals who are, we know, Roysdale Ford has officially made his intention known publicly. There may be others. Are you open for debate with those candidates?
Any time of the day, any place, anytime. But let me say this to you. Let's talk about declaring you are launching and running. It's not a very sensible thing. I mean, Joe Harmon launched and ran, and he lost. I don't give much to launch. Let me say this to you. Until the date for Congress is set and people nominate people, then and only then we can talk about who is a challenge. Right now, I see a lot of inexperience blowing in the wind.
All right. Before we get to your closing remarks, let me just let our listeners know that tomorrow evening will be the night for Roysdale Ford, Senior Counsel. He will have his opportunity right here on 107.1 FM. Mr. Norton, your closing remarks, please. I know people are asking they need a change to see the back of the PPP regime. Your closing remarks, sir.
My focus from the time I became a leader of this party was to focus on putting the party back on the ground, engaging the international community to create the international environment that is conducive to change, exposing the PPP, agitating against them, and engaging a lot of people who would have left the PNC, who are back with the PNC, that what we haven't said publicly, they are back. So the focus is on regaining political power. I see all of these things that are going on as distractions, and I am focused on what we set out to do. Our task is to see the back of the People's Progressive Party. We genuinely believe that if Guyana is to grow, the PPP must go. And I will continue to focus on that. And the people of Guyana are sensible. The people in the party are sensible. They see who would normally take on the PPP and who don't. You know, we are focused. We have developed an election plan. We've done an analysis of the national situation, and we are moving forward. The people are with us, and that is what matters.
All right, Mr. Norton, enjoy your stay there in Atlanta. What do you have a meeting Saturday, I believe it is, Saturday?
Tomorrow, I think it's 7. Saturday at 7. And there are some others that are not to be in the public domain.
Got you. If there is any public screening of tomorrow's public meeting, please let me know. But thank you so much for your time as always, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. And I have always said to you, Mark, I'm disposed to engage in, and I'm well prepared to answer all the questions that are being asked.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Have a good night. Yep.
Do the same, Mark.
Thank you, sir.
You and the audience can do the same as well.
Thank you. Aubrey Norton there, leader of the opposition and leader of the People's National Congress Reform. They have a meeting out in Atlanta, I believe sometime tomorrow, Mr. Norton mentioned, and then they have some other private engagements as well. Tomorrow night, Roysdale Ford is going to be with us, Senior Counsel Roysdale Ford. is going to be with us. I want to hear some of his plans as to why he, what are some of his plans were he to be elected leader of the People's National Congress. We want to hear these things, and once somebody declares his or her candidacy, we want to have them here because that's the democracy that we believe in. And at the end of the day, whoever has a better plan, then the members of the People's National Congress will make that decision. Not us on Facebook, but the bona fide members, those who are party members. You know what I mean? Party members with a party card who are entitled to vote there. They're the ones who are going to be making that decisions. Not some of them who probably just abusing out on Facebook. I know some of them. I know who some of them are. We know who some of them are too. Some of them have been out of Guyana for maybe 130 something years. Who knows? Anyways, I'm out of here. I'll be back tomorrow, same place, same time, right here on 107.1 FM with Roysdale Ford, Senior Counsel. Roysdale Ford. Thanks again to Mr. Norton. And thanks again to all of our listeners, every single one of you. There's no exception. Some who now understanding Guyana politics, and some who are just learning the game. All right. See you tomorrow. Tata.
Hey fans, it's karaoke and oldies night this and every Thursday at Club Twilight Sideline Dam, Buxton. Dance to the magical songs of yesteryear by popular DJs and Camps Audio. Admission is free. Come out, let's make memories at Club Twilight Sideline Dam, Buxton North.
Yes, my name is Jasnity Kaldata Francis Vietnam, and since 1965 I become a voter, and I always place my ex next to the cup, and what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data.
Oh, Jesus Christ, if cost of living double, I don't know what happened. A pound of sugar is $300 already. Flour, everything gone up. Everything just raising. You gotta get about $40,000 for buy good ration. You gotta get 3 man now. A weekend man, a monthly man, and a fortnight man.
Happy birthday.